long before Bradley Manning was an issue for the American public, that he was in solitary confinement for 7 months. Mohammed Barsami, Peter Erlander helped work on that case in Minnesota, was in solitary confinement for 5 years, pre-trial solitary confinement. Long before Bradley Manning, Jose Padilla and Ali Almari were on a Navy brig. Uzair Paracha suffered 3 years of solitary confinement. He was offered a plea deal where he had to spend a year more in jail. By the time his trial or the plea came up, he was so debilitated that he refused the plea deal, which is essentially serving a year more in jail, and he got a 30-year sentence and he's in Supermax right now. Osama Kassir, a name you've never heard of, is a man from Lebanon, Swedish citizen that they put in a gulag in Czechoslovakia and extradited over here. He was under SAMS and he's in solitary confinement. Ahmed Abu Ali, we will hear more about him. Our sister Afia Siddiqui, her case is world known, and her conditions. She's still under severe conditions, severe regime of torture. Her family has limited access to her, but this is America and this is justice. But justice for who? It was an issue for Bradley Manning, but for the Muslims in America, it is the norm. It is the status quo for our treatment. Are we no less human? I don't think so. I grew up here. I assert my humanity. But the United States government, time and time again, through these legal proceedings, tries to quash my humanity, or my brother's humanity, specifically my own brother, Fahad Hashmi. He was a defendant in a case that was brought up in the Southern District of New York. His case, I'm not going to go through all of it, but essentially it was 4 counts of material support that amounted to 70 years in prison. What it boiled down to was someone stayed with him, and in their luggage they had socks, ponchos, and raincoats. And they left and gave socks, ponchos, and raincoats to Al-Qaeda. That's what they claimed was the case. Not that he did it, that somebody else did it. My brother was in England at the time, and he spent a year as a Category A prisoner in Belmarsh Prison, where he could meet with other prisoners. He had communal prayer sessions, and then he came here. The moment he came here in 2007, he was immediately in solitary confinement. For 5 months, it was just solitary confinement, and we had weekly visits as a family to visit him. That moved on, and 5 months later, they imposed the special administrative measures. These were measures that were ostensibly to protect the citizenry from a prisoner engaging in action that resulted in some harm. A Latin king, which is a gang member, had actually ordered hits from jail, and this is how the original special administrative measures came about. But it was a reflective action for Muslim prisoners, because before my brother Ahmed was in special administrative measures, before my brother Uzair Paracha was in special administrative measures. So they sound benign, these words, and there is no recourse, because these are administered by the Attorney General. Literally, the Attorney General of the United States has to sign off on measures, called SAMs, to be applied to the prisoner. You can't argue with him or the Bureau of Prisons. It's something that they deem. We did, file motions, and but before I get to the filing motions and what the results were, what are these special administrative measures, and what is the denial of humanity in this case? For my brother's case, he was in solitary confinement from the moment he was here. He stayed in 23-hour solitary confinement for 3.5 years prior to his trial. He had 1 hour break in a cage. He's not allowed to talk out loud in his own cell. He wasn't allowed to move in certain ways in his own cell, or he could be reprimanded. He couldn't take a shower by closing the current because it's video monitored. So if this is not a denial of humanity, I don't know what is. America makes it plainly clear how it treats its Muslim citizens. What can I say? We lobbied, or we engaged in motions to preserve his humanity. We filed motions with the court. We lost every single motion over 3.5 years. And this is all pre-trial, under the presumption of innocence. But we know very well as many of you are family victims, or many of you in the community, in Virginia, in New York, in Houston, in Lodi, California, you know very well that this doesn't apply to your immunity. Because what we're facing is a regime or a harsh application of justice, what they call justice in America. It's a misapplied justice, and it's inherently pre-long solitary confinement is pre-trial is torture, is draconian. But when it comes to a Muslim, well, it's not punitive. The words that were used by the judges, they're administrative, not punitive. This is the words that you'll hear echoed throughout the course of these cases. And we talk about Guantanamo closing, and many human rights organizations come and say, well, you know, yes, the federal prison, bring the prisoners to the federal system. It's a farce. The government wins either way. They created these, as parties pointed out, they created these measures in America. And it wasn't just Florence as the Guantanamo of America, Marion, the MCC New York. It's better for prisoners at times to be in Guantanamo compared to the conditions they are in New York. Ahmed Gilani, that came up from Guantanamo, his conditions were probably better in Guantanamo than they were in New York. And then again, we look at how the media takes it, how the perspective is. It is a crime if Madoff is in a special housing unit in the FCC New York for 3 months, as opposed to my brother being there for 3 years. That's what happened. He was in the special housing unit. It's a crime for one set of citizens to be applied these harsh measures. And, you know, as people of conscience, we have to inherently work up this courage to brave this apparatus that is facing us and deal with it in the most efficient and fashion. So I will, you know, let the other panelists speak because they can speak about their families and their situations. Thank you.